संसारदावानललितलोका प्रणयकारुण्या घन घनात्वम् प्राप्तस्य कल्याणगुणानवस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् महाप्रभो कीर्तन नित्यगीता वादित्रमाद्यान् मनसोरसेन कीर्तन नित्यगीता वादित्रमाद्यान् मनसोरसेन रोमाञ्चकम्पाश्रुतरङ्गभाजो वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् श्रीविग्रहाराधन नित्यनाना शृङ्गारतन्मन्दिरमजनादौ युक्तस्य भक्तं सनियञ्जतोऽपि वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् चतुर्विधा श्रीभगवत्प्रसादा स्वादन्नतृप्तान् हरिभक्तसङ्गान् कृत्वैव तृप्तिं भजत सदैव वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् श्रीराधिका माधवयोरपारा माधुर्यलीला गुणरूपनाम्नाम् प्रतीक्षणास्वादनलोलुपस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् निकुञ्जयूनो रतिकेलिसिद्धै यायालिभिर्युक्तिरपेक्षणीया तत्रातिदाक्षात् अतिवल्लभस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् साक्षाद्धरित्वेन समस्तशास्त्रे युक्तस्तथा भाव्यत एव सद्भिः किन्तु प्रभोय प्रिय एव तस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् यस्य प्रसादात् भगवत्प्रसादो यस्य प्रसादात् न गति कुतोऽपि ध्यायां स्तुवं तस्य यशस्त्रिसन्ध्यं वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् ध्यायां स्तुवं तस्य यशस्त्रिसन्ध्यं वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् ध्यायां स्तुवं तस्य यशस्त्रिसन्ध्यं वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hari Haraya Namah Krishna Yadavaya Namaha, Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Gopal Govinda Rama Sri Madhusudana, Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohana. Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Sita, Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavat Gita. Sri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunatha, Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasha Raghunatha. Hari Haraya Namah Krishna Yadavaya Namaha, Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Hari Haraya Namah Krishna Yadavaya Namaha, Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Nila Madhav Radha Nila Madhav Radhe, Nila Madhav Radha Nila Madhav Radhe. Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Bhakta Prahlad. Jaya Sita Ram Jaya Lakshmana Hanuman Jaya Sita Ram Jaya Lakshmana Hanuman. जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा जय बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा जय सुदर्शन चक्र जय सुदर्शन चक्र जय सुदर्शन चक्र जय सुदर्शन चक्र नित्य गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस प्रवचकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्री श्री भक्तिवेदांत श्रील प्रभुपाद गोस्वामी महाराज की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की इस्कान फाउंडर श्रील प्रभुपाद की प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवाचार्य गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की वृंदावन धाम की जय मथुरा धाम की जय नवद्वीप धाम की जय जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय गंगा मैया की जय यमुना मैया की जय तुलसी देवी की जय भक्ति देवी की जय संकीर्तन यज्ञ की जय भरत मृदंगा की जय सामित भक्त वृंद की जय all glories to assembled devotees all glories to assembled devotees all glories to assembled devotees all glories all glories all glories Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada की जय
नमस्ते नरसिंहाय नमस्ते नरसिंहाय प्रह्लादलाददायिने प्रह्लादलाददायिने हिरण्यकाशीपूर्वक्षः शीलाटङ्कानकालाय शीलाटङ्कानकालाय इतो नरसिंहा परतो नरसिंहो इतो नरसिंहा परतो नरसिंहो यतो यतो यामि ततो नरसिंहा यतो यतो यामि ततो नरसिंहा बाहिर्नरसिंहो हृदये नरसिंहो बाहिर्नरसिंहो हृदये नरसिंहो नरसिंहमदिं शरणं प्रपदे नरसिंहमदिं शरणं प्रपदे तव करकमलवरे नाकाम् अद्भुतशृङ्गां दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृङ्गां केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे तव करकमलवरे नाकाम् अद्भुतशृङ्गां दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृङ्गां केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय केशवधृता नरहरि रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे केशवधृता नरहरि रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव सिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय भक्ता प्रहलाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव गुरुदेव जय गुरुदेव विघ्न विनाशक लक्ष्मी नरसिंहदेव भगवान की जय भक्त शिरोमणि प्रहलाद महाराज की जय गौर प्रेमानंद हरि
नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः राधा कृष्ण सेवा पाओ ये अभिलाषी राधा कृष्ण सेवा पाओ ये अभिलाषी ये तो मारा शरण लो तारा वांछा पूर्णा हो कृपा करी करो तारे वृंदावनवासी मारा यही अभिलाष बिलास कुंज दियो वार नयने हेरिबो सदा जुगल रूप राशि यही निवेदन धरो सखीरानुगत करो सेवा अधिकार दिए करो निज दासी दीना कृष्ण दासे को ये जिना मोरा होय श्री राधा गोविंदा प्रेमे सदयन भासी श्री राधा गोविंदा प्रेमे सदायन भासी यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे पदे यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे पदे यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे पदे Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. जय तुलसी महारानी, जय तुलसी महारानी, जय तुलसी महारानी, जय तुलसी महारानी. जय वृंदा देवी, जय वृंदा देवी, जय वृंदा देवी, जय वृंदा देवी. नित्य गौर हरि बोल, हरि बोल, हरि बोल, नित्य गौर हरि बोल. जय जय प्रभुपाद, 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद. जय जय गुरुदेव, 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 जय जय गुरुदेव. देवी की जय। हरे कृष्ण।
guess we'll just start the class. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Grantharaja Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 6. And one more time, text number 10. Smaran Vishwa Srijam Isho Vigyapitam Ahoksaja Virajam Atapat Svena Tejasai Sam Vivrittaye. Smaran, remembering, Vishwasrijam, of the demigods entrusted with the task of cosmic construction. Isha, the Supreme Lord, Vigyapitam, as he was prayed for, Ahoksaja, the transcendence, Virajam, the gigantic universal form, Atapat, considered thus, Swena, by his own, Tejasa, energy, Asam, for them, Vrivittaye, for understanding. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The Supreme Lord is the super soul of all the demigods, entrusted with the task of constructing a cosmic manifestation. Being thus prayed to by the demigods, he, the Lord, thought to himself, and thus manifested a gigantic form for their understanding. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This just proves that everything is personal in the universe, including the whole universe. Nothing is actually impersonal. Just things appear impersonal, but it's due to our imperfect vision. So the whole universe is encompassed in one person called Virat Rupa, which is an temporary expansion of Krishna, and that's explained in the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Let's look at that real quick. Right in the beginning, where it says, Krishna also understands that Arjuna, this is 11th chapter, verse number 3, and at the end of that purport. It says, Krishna also understands that Arjuna wants to see the universal form to set a criterion. For in the future, there would be so many impostors who would pose themselves as incarnations of God. The people, therefore, should be careful. One who claims to be Krishna should be prepared to show his universal form to confirm his claim to the people. And then the next verse, it says, actually verse number 5, it says, the Supreme Personality of God had said, my dear Arjuna, O son of Prita, see now my opulences, hundreds of thousands of very divine and multicolored forms. And the purport, Prabhupada writes, Arjuna wanted to see Krishna in his universal form, which, although a transcendental form, is just manifested for the cosmic manifestation and is therefore subject to the temporary time of this material nature. So this universal form is a transcendental form of Krishna, but it's a temporary one. As the material nature is manifested and not manifested, similarly, the universal form of Krishna is manifested and non-manifested. It is not eternally situated in a spiritual sky like Krishna's other forms. As far as a devotee is concerned, he is not eager to see other forms. He is not eager to see the universal form, but because Arjuna wanted to see Krishna in this way, Krishna reveals this form. This universal form is not possible to be seen by any ordinary man. Krishna must give one the power to see it. So then text 7, in the purport it says, no one can see the entire universe while sitting in one place. Even the most advanced scientists cannot see what is going on in other parts of the universe. But a devotee like Arjuna can see everything that exists in any part of the universe. Krishna gives him the power to see anything he wants to see, past, present, and future. Thus, by the mercy of Krishna, Arjuna is able to see everything. And then it says, so the next purport says, text number 8, but you, meaning Arjuna, cannot see me with your present eyes. Therefore, I give you divine eyes. Behold my mystic opulence. Okay, so that just gives you an idea about this universal form. So the impersonalists, purport by Srila Prabhupada, the impersonalists are captivated by the gigantic universal form of the Supreme. They think that the control behind this gigantic manifestation is imagination. In other words, they don't accept that there's any being or supreme intelligent person behind the cosmic world. Intelligent persons, however, can estimate the value of the cause by observing the wonders of the effects. We've mentioned this many times. It's a very significant statement. And there's one thing that we should understand also about this statement, that is that the cause is in the effect. So he's saying that an intelligent person can estimate the value of the cause by observing the wonders of the effects. Well, also in this third canto, further on, Prabhupada explains how the cause is in the effect, which is, in other words, if we walked away from Krishna and came to the material world, we should be able to see that in our present life also, because the cause is in the effect. So we see every day people walk away from Krishna. They make that decision all the time. So not only can we understand the cause by seeing the wonders of the effect, but we can also see the cause in the effect. So I will show you where that's said, not right now, but tomorrow. But also yesterday, the young boy asked a question about air and sky. Well, the answer to that is in the 13th chapter. I'll come back to the purport in a minute before I forget to do this. 13th chapter, 33rd verse, which says, the sky, due to its subtle nature, does not mix with anything although it is all-pervading. Similarly, the soul situated in Brahman, vision, does not mix with the body, though situated in that body. So we see that the air is contained within the sky, but it's not mixed. So the example I gave of the balloon and the air within the balloon is just to help us understand. But the sky is not like a balloon. It's subtle, more subtle, and it's greater than the air. So the air is contained in the sky. It doesn't go beyond it. But there's not like a body encompassing the air. So this verse 1333 says, "The sky, due to its subtle nature, does not mix with anything, although it is all-pervading." So pervading means it's everywhere within everything else, and it's not mixed. So therefore, there's no chemical combination. There's no mixture. It's just that it's more subtle than the air. And then the purport Prabhupada says, "The air enters into water, mud, stool, and whatever else is there. Still, it does not mix with anything. Similarly, the living entity, even though situated in varieties of bodies, is aloof from them due to his subtle nature. Therefore, it is impossible to see with the material eyes how the living entity is in contact with this body and how he is out of it after the destruction of the body. No one in science can ascertain this." So in the same way, the sky also, due to its more subtle nature, does not mix with the air, but yet the air is contained within it. So when it says subtle, it means it is finer than the air. And the air is finer than water, mud, stool, and whatever else there is. But it's not finer than the sky. The sky is finer than the air. So that is 13th chapter, 33rd verse. So I was looking for that to help answer the question. 1333. Okay, so we come back to this point. I'm adding a point now today. Well, it's just like it's more subtle. Subtle means that it is smaller and it can pervade the air at every point and surpass it also. So just like if you have a sieve, you know what a sieve is? S-I-E-V-E. It's something that you pour, let's say, water or tea with tea leaves into, and it catches the leaves and other materials, and just the water, just the tea comes out, right? Look that up, S-I-E-V-E.
Strainer.
Huh?
It's a strainer kind of. Yes. Yeah. Tea filter. Yeah.
What? Yeah, it filters the water, and it filters out the leaves and other larger particles because there's a very fine mesh. So the air is grosser than sky. Is it S-I-E-V-E?
S-I-E-V, yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes we use for the grains also.
Yeah, yeah. Anything you want to get rid of the larger particles from the water. So the water can permeate other things. Now, does it mix with them? Not really. It looks like it, but you could separate out the water from the other minerals or whatever. And that's what they do. Like when you go mining for gold in a river, so you catch some sand and water, and then the water goes through the sieve, and then you just have the sand, and then you look carefully in the sand, and sometimes you find gold if you're in the right place. So the sieve helps you separate the water from the sand. Yeah, what do you want to say?
And
Speak into the microphone.
can the water mix with the earth? Not the sand, just the earth, because that can turn into mud, right?
Yeah, but then you can separate the water from the mud because the water is finer than the mud.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So in the same way, the sky is finer or more subtle than air. So it looks like they mix, but they don't really mix. Right? So you can separate the sky from the air. Okay. But the sky is bigger than the air, so it contains the air. Okay, so now, coming back to this purport. So when it says, the intelligent person, however, can estimate the value of the cause by observing the wonders of the effects. Later on in this third canto, there's an explanation how the cause is in the effect. Just like we walked away from Krishna voluntarily because we became attracted to the material world. But today, we're still walking away from Krishna. So you can see the original cause in the effect. The effect is we're in the material world, but still people are walking away from Krishna or leaving Krishna or ignoring Krishna. So it's the same thing we did originally, and now the effect of that is we're in the material world, but we're still doing the same thing. So the cause is in the effect. Not only you can understand the cause by observing the wonders of the effects, but you can also understand the cause because it'll be manifested in the effects. Okay. So it says, for example, the individual human body does not develop from the womb of the mother independently, but because a living entity, the soul, is within the body. Without the living entity, a material body cannot automatically take shape or develop. When any material object displays development, meaning it grows or diminishes, it must be understood that there is a spiritual soul within the manifestation. The gigantic universe has developed gradually, just as the body of a child develops within the womb of the mother. The conception that the transcendence, meaning Krishna, enters within the universe is therefore logical. Okay, so what Prabhupada is doing here is beginning with something that you know. Like, for example, you know a baby develops in the womb of the mother, right? And it's gradual development. Right? He's beginning with something, giving an example of something we know to understand something we don't know. Now, we don't know how Krishna created the universe. We're learning now. But Prabhupada is giving examples of things that we do know to help us understand the things that we don't know. So just like a baby develops in the womb of the mother over a period of time, which is usually 10 months, in the same way, and then he also says that unless there's a soul in the body of the baby, it won't grow. Right? So then he says, in the same way, the universal soul, the Virat Rupa, encompasses the whole material nature. And within that Virat Rupa, the material nature begins to develop because there's a soul. Nothing can develop without a soul. So this is, and what happens when there's a soul in a body? It grows, and it can diminish. So that's the proof that there's a soul. If you take the soul out, the body won't develop. So when you die, you don't keep developing the body. The body eventually disappears. It gets decomposed because the soul has left the body. And when the soul enters the womb of the mother, then the body is built. So these are logical points, how we can understand the presence of the soul in a material body, because that body will grow. And when the soul leaves it, it will diminish and disappear. Yeah.
Can we
Yes.
say that?
Yeah, I said that
Yeah.
day before yesterday. I think.
Yeah.
That there are clouds that are living entities. There are mountains that are living entities. There are stones or crystals that are living entities, because they grow and they reduce over time, or they diminish over time. So a plant grows, right, and then it diminishes.
These objects are not doesn't have, they have material energy of Krishna, but not the soul.
No, they do. They
No,
have
the objects like let's say speaker,
Well, is
speaker or something.
Is that speaker growing? No, it's
No,
not growing.
that's why.
Yeah, it might deteriorate over time, but it's not growing. So anything that grows and then deteriorates is living. Okay, so as the materialists cannot find the soul and the supersoul within the heart, similarly, for want of sufficient knowledge, they cannot see the supreme soul as the cause of the universe. So they can't, the scientists and the doctors, when they do heart surgery, they don't see the soul, they don't see Krishna in the heart. And the same way when the astronomers look at the universe with their telescopes, they don't see Krishna. They don't see the super soul, Paramatma. They don't even see the Virat Rupa. So they cannot see the supreme soul is the cause of the universe. Now, does that mean because they don't see it, it doesn't exist? No. Like if someone is blind and you're walking down the street with the blind person and you say, oh, the sun is shining so nicely today. And the blind person says, I don't believe it because I can't see it. Well, wait a minute. That doesn't mean somebody else can't see it. Just because the blind man doesn't see it, he said, I don't believe it's shining. But that's due to his limitations. But a person standing next to him who can see, he says, no, the sun is shining very nicely today. Just because he can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. You see? So the scientists, they don't have the eyes to see. Just like we read just a few minutes ago in the 11th chapter, Krishna tells Arjuna, you can't see the universal form sitting in one place. But if I give you the eyes, you will be able to see it. So Krishna, as Paramatma, can give us the ability to see things that are unseen by materialists. And he can take that away from us also. But we have to have Krishna's help, one way or the other. Okay, so the Lord is therefore described in the Vedic language as Avan Manasa Gochara, beyond the conception of words and minds. Yeah, because we are so limited, and we see things through the prism of our limitations. Therefore, when we encounter Krishna, who's unlimited, we get confused. And we come to the conclusion that, well, I don't believe there is a God because I can't believe that he can do all these things. Like, as a 7-year-old boy, he lifts up a whole mountain with his pinky and keeps it for 1 week in that position. Or that he kills a gigantic demon like Putana. So just because he says, I can't believe it or I can't say it, it doesn't mean it hasn't happened or it doesn't exist. It just means that that person has limited vision, just like the blind man has limited vision. So when he hears that the sun is shining, he says, I don't believe it because I can't see it. So that's what the scientists are saying too. They say, well, we did open heart surgery. We didn't see any super soul. We didn't see any Krishna. Well, yeah, because you don't have the eyes to see, but it is possible to see. Or if not, then at least you can theoretically accept it so that you can progress in spiritual life. And later on, you will see also. Okay, so it's impossible to explain Krishna in words and thoughts. Although you can make an attempt, like that's what we're doing now. You're trying to understand Krishna through the words and the mind of Sukadeva Goswami and the words of Sukadeva Goswami. But you'll never understand everything about Krishna. You'll understand some things, but never everything, because Krishna's always expanding his qualities. Just as you think you understand everything about Krishna, he expands his knowledge, and you just overwhelmed and perplexed because you see that Krishna has infinite qualities, infinite pastimes, infinite number of devotees. So you'll never be able to catch up to Krishna. But you can learn a lot, up to 78% of Krishna's attributes. Okay, so due to a poor fund of knowledge, meaning due to lack of knowledge, the mental speculators try to bring the supreme within the purview of words and minds, but the Lord refuses to be so intelligible. The speculator has no adequate words or mind to gouge the infinity of the Lord. So the Lord has infinite powers, and we are limited. He is unlimited. So we're not going to be able to understand everything about Krishna. Because when we think that we've come to the end of understanding, immediately Krishna increases his qualities. So it's not possible to understand everything about Krishna, but we can have a general understanding of Krishna, that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that no one is equal to him or greater than him, that he is the cause of all causes, that nothing happens that's outside of his view or his consciousness. So those type of things we can understand. So then it says, so we cannot bring the Lord within the purview of words and minds, but the Lord refuses to be so intelligible. The speculator has no academic words or minds to gauge the infinity of the Lord. So the speculators, they can't measure Krishna. It's too great. Right. The Lord is called Ahokshaja, or the person who is beyond perception by the blunt, limited potency of our senses. One cannot perceive the transcendental name or form of the Lord by mental speculation. Okay, so then it talks about the frog in the well. So I wanted to explain today something that I've written. I've gone over it a little bit in previous times, but I want to go over it in much more detail today. That is how to prove that God exists to people. Biological points.
Maharaj, sorry, 1 second. Can you just elaborate? I don't understand this. Like, but Lord refuses to be so intelligible. Means,
Let's say it again.
Here it says that the Lord refuses to be so intelligible.
Yeah.
What does it mean?
So intelligible means within the grasp of words and mind. Okay. But the Lord refuses to words and mundane minds. So intelligible means you can use your intelligence to understand. But you can use all your intelligence to try and understand Krishna. You'll never understand because he's always increasing, you see. So what do the scientists and philosophers and speculators do? They try and capture Krishna in mundane words and mental speculation, right? But Krishna is way beyond that. They can't do it. They can try, but they fail. Okay? Intelligible means understandable.
Meaning it's comprehensible.
Yeah. But they can't comprehend Krishna because he's beyond their limitations of words and mind. The mind is a material thing. It's a subtle thing, but it's still material. And words are a material thing. So they cannot capture the full, let's say, spectrum of Krishna's qualities. But they can get an idea, but not an exact, finite description of Krishna's qualities because they're always going to be increasing. Okay, so this is called scientific spirituality. Scientific spirituality. If you want a copy of it, I can give it to you. So it says, first of all, we start off by saying things that everyone can accept. One, religion is a type of faith. Everybody can understand it. Spiritual science is concerned with verifiable facts that are irrefutable. In other words, they're facts that you cannot argue with. So what are they? The following discussion presents facts of life that are the foundation of scientific spirituality. These facts point to the commonality of human beings and their unique origin from a personal, supreme, intelligent being. So, the spiritual science is only going to deal with facts, nothing, let's say, no speculation. Okay, so we begin. Every human being, regardless of race, gender, religion, ethnicity, etc., experiences birth, old age, disease, and death. Do you agree with that? Is that a good statement? You can't say, oh, no, I don't agree with that. No, right? You agree with it. 2, there are 6 stages of the body: birth, growth, duration of life, producing byproducts, dwindling, death. Can you argue with that? No, I'm never going to grow old. What? That's not true. Yeah. Number 3, all human beings have 4 fundamental defects. They make mistakes, they easily fall into illusion, they have imperfect senses, and they have a cheating propensity. Are you the only one that never cheats, bro? No. Okay, number 4, all living entities suffer from 3 types of miseries. Miseries of this body, miseries caused by other bodies, and miseries caused by catastrophic events. Can you argue with that? No. Number 5, every living being eats, sleeps, mates, and defends. Can you argue with that? Number 6, all humans experience 3 stages of consciousness: awake, dreaming state, and deep sleep, where you don't perceive anything. Number 7, there are 4 ways a living being can be born: from embryos, eggs, seeds, and perspiration. There are some bugs that are born from perspiration, or some kinds of bacteria also. Number 9, everyone is subject to duality in their life, such as heat and cold, happiness and distress, rich and poor, honor and dishonor, love and hate, friend and enemy, etc. Can you argue with that? Number 10, Human beings are always dependent and controlled by superior forces such as time, nature, governments, etc. No person has complete independence. We do not control our digestion, blinking of eyes, breathing, and so many other vital functions of the body, as well as vital functions of the universe on which we depend, such as the movement of the sun, earth, tides, etc. No one can remember choosing to be born in a particular body or place. All the vital processes of life, different causal situations, we find, no one can remember choosing to be born in a particular body or place. All the vital processes of life and different causal situations we find ourselves in are outside our conscious control. This indicates we are in a dependent position at all times. Okay, number 11. All living bodies subsist on food grains, which are produced from rains. Rains are produced by a process of nature. The sun evaporates water from the ocean and forms clouds, which are moved by the wind and subtle changes of temperature and pressure that cause the clouds to remain or to rain on the earth. Okay. And clouds to rain on the land. These processes are not controlled by human beings. Number 12. There are 5 gross elements and 3 subtle elements that can constitute the body, which can further be expanded to 24. They are earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. The above 8 are expanded in more detail to 24. 5 gross elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether, or space. 2. 5 senses for gathering information: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin. 3. 5 objects of the information gathering senses are seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and touching. 5 working senses are arms, legs, voice, genital, and anus. The mind is the sense within. Is the sense within because it receives the information from the other senses and stores them in the memory. The intelligence differentiates the information acquired by the senses and attributes values such as this is good and this is bad, etc. The false ego wrongly identifies the self with matter. There is an unmanifest stage of matter wherein the time element and the influences of the 3 qualities that condition every living being no longer exists. This is summarized as 5 gross material elements. So that's 5. 5 senses for gathering information. That's 10. Then 5 objects of the information gathering senses. Okay, that's 15. 5 working senses. That's 20. And then mind, intelligence, false ego, 23. And then the unmanifest stage of matter, that's 24. That's the expansion of the 8 into 24 material elements. The 25th material element is this Jiva soul, and the 26th, not material element, the 25th element is the Jiva soul, and the 26th element is Paramatma. So that is an explanation of the body, material body. There are 24 basic components of this world. The aggregate of these 24 elements is called the field of activity. There is also desire, hatred, happiness, and distress, which are interactions and may be considered representations of the 5 great elements in the gross body. Okay, and then finally it says, the living symptoms represented by consciousness and convictions are the manifestation of the subtle body made up of the mind, intelligence, and false ego. The 5 great elements are a gross representation of the false ego, which in turn represents the unmanifested stage of the three modes of material nature. The unmanifested modes of nature are called pradhana. Okay, so that's an explanation of the material body, right, in the universe. Okay, so now point number 13. So these are all what you would call irrefutable facts. You can't oppose them. Now, what is this? What is the process that I'm doing here? If you get a person to agree to many, many things, always saying yes, 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 then when you come to something controversial like the soul, they've already said yes so many times. It's much easier for them to say yes to the hard part or the harder thing to understand, right? But this is not a trick, because we're going to explain everything logically, that it's very difficult to argue against. Okay, so we keep going. 13. Although animals and humans eat, sleep, mate, and defend alike, some humans are more intelligent than animals because they can use their intelligence to understand their factual position in respect to the universe. The following 6 steps of logical thinking represent superior human intelligence. Point number 1 of this higher superior understanding of where we're situated in this material world and how we're situated. Number 1, like René Descartes, one can eliminate everything that one is not sure of, that one is not sure that it exists. One arrives at the conclusion that I am only sure that I exist because I'm able to think. So René Descartes was a French philosopher, and one day he tried to eliminate everything he wasn't sure of. So he had to eliminate God. He wasn't absolutely sure about God's existence. Then he eliminated everything else in the world except one thing. He couldn't eliminate himself because he was thinking, right? So, therefore, one arrives at the conclusion that I am only sure that I exist because I am able to think. Number 2, next. So in other words, the first point is you recognize that you exist. You're not an it. You're not non-existent. You're actually a person. Basically, the first step is acknowledging I am a person. I actually exist, right? Maybe I can't validate that God exists. Maybe I can't validate that this book exists. But I can say that I exist because I'm thinking. Okay. So now, next point. I can understand from the above that there's a difference between I, the one that perceives, and everything else that I perceive, or the seer and the seen. I see objects. Therefore, there is a difference between the objects I see and myself as the seer. For example, I see my arm. If my arm is detached from my body, I continue to see it, even though it is no longer attached to my body. It is obvious that there is a difference between the seer and the seen. Whether my arm is attached to my body or not, I am still the seer, and I am different than the object I see. When I see a part of my body, I say, this is my arm, my head, my heart, my brain, my finger, etc. I don't say, I body, I head, I brain, I finger. Okay. Sometimes people may say, I can understand that I am not my finger or leg or arm because if these appendages are separated from me, I continue to exist. I will die if my heart is cut out or my brain. The answer to this is the following. It has already been demonstrated that one can have a replacement heart from another person and continue to exist. Similarly, when medical science advances, it'll be possible to replace the brain or the parts of it, just as one can replace the hard drive, memory cards, etc. in a motherboard. The motherboard remains the same, but the different components can be replaced. The brain of a person functions like a machine, which can be repaired or replaced. The person is different than the brain, just as he is different from the heart, liver, pancreas, etc. So, there's a difference between the seer and the seen. So, I'm seeing this book. That means I am the seer, and the book is what I see. So that means there's a difference between us. Right? So point number 3, the objects I perceive, the organs I use to perceive, and the process of perception have all been supplied to me. I didn't make any of those. Right? I did not create them, nor do I control or maintain them. Therefore, I am not independent in the process of perception. For example, I use the internet. I did not create the internet. I do not control or own the internet, nor do I understand exactly how the internet works. Yet, I'm able to use the internet. My use of the internet depends on many other people and organizations that control it. I am dependent on them to use the internet. The same applies to my ability to perceive. Now, there's another point here. For me, for my body to go from Seattle to Mumbai, I need the help of thousands of people. And it's a fact, thousands. How do we calculate? Well, number one, the company that owns the airplane, right? So that company has a lot of employees, and many of them are engaged in helping me move my body from Seattle to Mumbai. They also have airplanes. Those airplanes were made, let's say, by Boeing. Boeing has 100,000 employees. Right there. Now, they all are instrumental in helping me move my body from here to Mumbai. And in the airplane, there's a pilot, and there's a second pilot, and there's stewardesses. So you have to count them also, because they're serving me while I'm sitting in the plane. And then the airplane has to pass through different countries. They have to get permission from each country. So then there are other people involved that give the permission. So it goes on and on like this, that there are thousands of people that help me move my body. Then you have to go through immigration. Sometimes you stop in one country and you go through immigration. Then you come back through it again, get on the plane. And then the plane goes. And then when you land at your destination, again, there's immigration people, there's security people, right? So to move my body, it could take thousands of people to go from one place to the other. In the same way, in order for me, the seer, to see things, I need the help of the objects that I didn't create, the organs that I didn't create, and the process of seeing that I didn't create. I can just use it, but I didn't create any of those things. Neither the objects that I'm seeing, nor the process by which I'm seeing, nor the organs of seeing, the eyes. I didn't create any of those. They were given to me somehow or other. Right? And I don't control them either. I can use them, but I don't have control of them. Sometimes you go blind. You have no control over it. Sometimes the plane crashes. You have no control over it. Okay. Now, number 4. So first point was I exist. I recognize that I exist. One time, a person told me, I don't think I exist. Right? I said, okay, but I'll prove to you that you do. So how are you going to do that? I said, I'm going to pick up this chair, and smack you on the head with it. He said, no, you're not. I said, that means you exist. Because if I take this chair and I smack it on this wall, it doesn't resist. It doesn't say, no, you're not allowed to do that. But you just said, you can't do that. So that means you exist. So it's easy to prove that a person exists. Only crazy people say I don't exist because they want to be wise guys. Okay, point number 4. Our power of seeing or perception is limited. Every human being is born with 4 fundamental defects. We make mistakes. We are subject to illusion. Our senses are imperfect, and we have a cheating propensity. Thus, we are conditioned by our body and the forces of nature that influence our body. We are dependent and limited. I cannot see around corners nor through walls or at a great distance. I can't hear radio waves unless I have a radio. I can't see television waves unless I have a television. My senses are limited. Even with powerful instruments to help me extend my perception, my senses are still limited. Okay, so we have limited power of perception. Okay, that's point 4. So in point 1, I am a person. Point 2, there's a difference between the seer and the seen. Point 3, the process of seeing, the organs of seeing, the objects I see, have all been supplied to me. I didn't create them. Right? Number 4, my power of seeing is limited. Okay. Number 5, the seer is fundamentally different than the seen by virtue of the fact that the seer feels dissatisfaction due to the limitations of conditioned material existence. For example, a golfer is about to putt the golf ball into the hole. He carefully putts, but the ball barely misses the hole. He feels dissatisfaction and frustration. The golf ball, however, feels nothing because it does not possess consciousness like the golfer. The consciousness of the golfer expressed by his dissatisfaction is missing the putt indicates that the golfer is different than the golf ball. The golf ball is made of a combination of matter. The golfer is dissatisfied because he has consciousness, and the golf ball does not feel dissatisfied because it doesn't have consciousness. Consciousness is more than a combination of matter. It is not a mere combination of matter. If it was, then the golf ball would also feel dissatisfaction. The golfer's body, like the golf ball, is made of material combination. But there is another dimension in the body that is not a product of material combination. That is the consciousness of the golfer. Feelings of love, attachment, dissatisfaction, etc. indicate that the person has a non-material dimension that perceives and feels experiences in the material body. The fact that consciousness is not a product of material combination is evident at the moment of death. Right before death, a person is still conscious. When the person dies, the body loses consciousness. At death, it becomes evident that the consciousness is not merely a combination of matter, because the same material body is still present, but it is merely lacking of matter. Because the same material body is still present, but it is lacking consciousness. Why can't the doctors revive the body by injecting whatever chemicals are missing? The answer is that consciousness is not a product of material combination. In fact, why don't scientists carefully measure a body before and right after death to determine what chemicals are missing so that they can inject them into the body of the deceased and revive him? Obviously, they have tried, but they cannot succeed in manipulating chemicals to stop death. Okay. So, in other words, we have something more than the body, and that's consciousness. And because of that, we feel dissatisfaction. that proves that we have consciousness. Otherwise, we wouldn't be dissatisfied. Right? You try and play basketball, and you throw the ball, but it doesn't go into the hoop. You feel dissatisfied. You play golf, you're trying to put the ball in the hole, it doesn't go. You're dissatisfied. You play soccer, you try to hit the ball into the net, but it doesn't go there. It's blocked all the time, so you feel dissatisfied. Dissatisfaction is a sign, but the ball itself that you kicked, it's not dissatisfied. It doesn't have consciousness. It's not expressing any dissatisfaction. So therefore, there's a difference between a living human being and a ball or a bat or something like that, a golf ball or whatever. Okay, so number 6, something cannot be animate without an intelligent person behind it. Intelligence gives direction like a higher authority. A living being cannot see or move or eat or do anything without the use of intelligence. Everyone is dependent on their own intelligence or that of a superior being. For example, a boy purchases a scale model train set. He assembles it at home. He connects the electrical control panel to electricity and begins to enjoy running the train for his enjoyment. The train moves forward or backward and comes to a halt by the will of the boy. The boy did not create the train set. The boy purchased a set that was created and manufactured by other persons who had the superior intelligence to create such a model train set. The boy simply assembled the train set and then enjoys running it according to his will. There are 3 things to note. There is matter that can be organized and manipulated. There is the intelligence of an individual living being, the boy in this example. And there is the superior intelligence of the person or persons that conceived the mad train. Similarly, there's a superior intelligence that has ordered this world that we live in. Due to the incredible engineering of this world, we are able to function in it and use the many facilities. Like the boy in the train set or the user of the internet, we do not understand how the world works, but we're able to use it or order a small part of it according to our will. There is the law of gravity, the principles of aerodynamics, principles of thermodynamics, the precise movement of planets and tides, etc., that are perceived and understood by scientists who then proceed to produce different conveyances based on these pre-existing laws. The scientist manifests intelligence to make an airplane or a car with many moving parts. It is evident that there is a superior scientist with superior intelligence that has ordered the universe and is maintaining it in a wonderful way. Without intelligence, nothing can move in a predictable way. There is chaos in the world, in the material, natural world. Okay, so in order to put things together and make it work, you have to have intelligence. It doesn't happen by itself, right? So number 6 says, something cannot be animate without an intelligent person behind it. Okay. And then I say, for example, I purchase all the materials for building a house and then store them on an empty lot ready to build. I then follow the principles of natural selection, genetic mutation, trial and error, and random combination and permutations, and hope that my house will be built by chance. Do you think the house will be built on my plot of land like I hope it will? Unless there are superior, intelligent persons to direct the construction of the house and the workers to do it, it will never be built. I certainly cannot construct the building materials myself. Matter can only move because of superior intelligence guiding it in a precise way. We can safely and logically conclude that something cannot be animate without an intelligent person behind it. Therefore, there is a supremely intelligent person behind it. the entire material creation that is guiding it at every step. Just as there are so many intelligent people in the world guiding and molding matter into many conveyances for their purposes. Let's say I walk into Microsoft campus and declare that the computer software company began by accident and developed by itself, and that no intelligent individual was behind its creation, development, and continuation. What do you think the response would be? It is obvious that a psychological evaluation team would be called to determine whether I am a mentally disturbed person making such outrageous false statements out loud. It is obvious, if you visit Microsoft campus, that it was begun to develop turning the wrong page. Developed, and continuously maintained by a group of highly intelligent persons. There is no other explanation for its continued success. But Microsoft is insignificant in comparison with the complexity, grandeur, and incredible technology manifest in the universe. A man is considered crazy to express the thoughts that Microsoft started by accident and is continuing without any intelligent persons ordering and guiding it. Similarly, anyone who claims the universe, with its incredible complexity and perfect movements, happened by accident, and that there's no intelligent superior person behind it, should be considered crazy. The Earth revolves on its axis at about 1,000 miles an hour. The Earth also revolves around the Sun at about 60,000 miles per hour. The Sun also revolves on a universal orbit at about 400,000 miles per hour. All these movements are going on synchronized, in a synchronized manner. The movements are colossal movements. The movements are so perfect that we don't feel any shaking or discomfort. Due to the exactness of these colossal movements, we are able to keep time in a precise way. These movements are ordered and maintained with a regularity that seems mysterious. Is all this going on randomly? Obviously not. As there is intelligence behind the movement of a car, airplane, bicycle, etc., so there is a superior intelligence belonging to a much more highly evolved conscious person behind the movement of the sun, moon, earth, and all things. The consciousness of the superior intelligent person. This consciousness belongs to a superior intelligent person. Okay, so far we discussed 6 points. Right? Now it keeps going to 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 points. I'm not going to read them all. I can give you a copy of this. You can look at it and see what you think. There's another part of it that's even more important, and it says, oops, object-oriented programming. I'm not going to read it. It's very detailed, and you can look at it, and if you think there's anything mistaken in it, you can tell me. And then after that, there's something else called project life cycle management. That's also a process of creation, just like OOPS or object-oriented programming is a creation process, right? And then project lifecycle management is another creation process. So you can read these things and tell me what you think. Okay. So, conclusion. Scientific spirituality is a collection of facts that are undeniable for the honest observer. These facts point to the common experience of every human being, regardless of their ethnicity, religion, bias, etc. They override any superficial differences that might be postulated by religious beliefs, nationalistic or political rhetoric, and other speculative philosophical thoughts. Ultimately, these verifiable facts indicate that we must seek out specific knowledge of our relationship with the superior intelligent being who is ordering and maintaining the universe, and who is the origin of all species of life and varieties of matter. That's the conclusion. Okay. Are there any questions? This is called scientific spirituality.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So Maharaj, sometimes sometimes people use interchangeably.
What?
Sometimes some few peoples use the consciousness and soul interchangeably. Same thing.
Consciousness and what else?
Soul.
Soul.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So they sometimes they just interchangeably use the same thing, thinks that it's the same thing. So how do we explain them? Like it's
No, consciousness is the symptom of the soul. Just like
yeah,
your heartbeat is the symptom that you're alive, or your pulse is a symptom that you're alive, right? The fact that you're eating and passing stool, that's a symptom that you're still alive. If you stop passing stool and urine and you stop eating, that's a symptom that, and if it continues over a period of time, that's a symptom that you're dead. Okay, so the consciousness is a symptom of the soul.
Maharaj, I have this question. Want to clarify because when I go out to the public and share knowledge, I think this is one of the questions that can be posed to me. I think actually Paramatma resides in our heart, and I'm also assuming our soul also resides in our heart. And the question is now, today's lecture, the point was brought up is heart transplant.
Yeah.
So when the basically heart transplant is you're bringing the heart from one person to the other person. So what is happening in that situation? Like
Just like
are
you're
we bringing-
sitting on this carpet right now.
Uh-huh.
You decide to get up and sit on the chair,
Okay.
right? So when your heart fails, they take it out
Yeah.
and they put someone else's heart in.
Yes.
So it's another chair. It's
Uh-huh.
not that the other person is transferred to you.
Yeah. That's
No, no. It's a chair.
But if we're saying the soul and the super soul
The heart
residing
is
in
an
the chair,
organ. It's not a person.
so the soul can
So, but if they put
permeate.
a living heart into a dead man's body, take his heart out and put a living heart, is it going to be alive or dead? No, because there's no soul, so it'll be dead.
Soul is not like just resides in the heart; it resides the entire body. Is that how we should treat?
The soul is sitting on a seat. It's called the heart.
Okay.
So you're sitting here now. Now you decide to sit over there.
Yeah.
Right. So you're the person, but this carpet or that chair is just something you sit on.
So is that means when we are
The
taking
heart is just an
out,
organ. It's just an organ. It's not a person.
Okay. So
Right.
when we're taking the heart out, that means
You don't
soul
take the soul out.
soul doesn't sit there.
And when you
Okay.
take the heart out of the other person, you're not taking his soul out. You're just taking the organ.
Okay, that would answer because when we change the heart, also the person regains the consciousness of his past memories. That's why
Does the heart
I want to
talk?
clarify.
Does the heart talk? Does it talk? Does it walk? Does it pass stool? No.
Okay.
It's just an organ. It's a mechanical thing. It's a pump.
Okay. Yeah. That.
So when your pump breaks down, you throw it away. You just put another pump there, right?
Okay. That's. Yeah. So the way we should understand is heart is
so
not the
it's
soul.
just no, it's not. The heart is a seat
Seat. Okay.
where your soul is sitting,
Okay.
right? So when that seat wears out, you just throw it away and bring another one in.
And then heart come. Okay. The soul sit back.
But you don't change the person.
Okay, yeah, that brings clarity. And another question, Maharaj, I think we talked about the crystals grow, which is the presence of soul. And
Now scientists, they make a lot of these nanoparticles. And like for example, they take the silicates, which are in the form of
Silicates.
which are in the form of liquid, and they boil it. Basically, there are hydrogen bonds and oxygen bonds, and when you boil it, basically the water gets evaporated, the bonds are broken, and then it forms into small nucleus too. It grows all the way to anywhere. You can control anywhere from 1 nanometer to micron. So that's a would be a challenging situation to explain. So should we treat every particle as a soul?
Oh, you're comparing the those bits of
Nanoparticles.
particles to the soul. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, should we consider each of them, because they grow from very small, invisible molecule to into a big nanoparticle or microparticles. So should
Okay.
we say everything enabled by
So
the
you
soul?
can see it. You can see it.
Yeah.
Well, no, there's a difference because those particles have consciousness?
They only grow. That's the only definition. How do we?
They grow,
Yeah.
then it has a soul.
Okay.
If it grows, do they grow and diminish over time, or they just grow?
They grow in this process. So if we have to diminish again, we have to use higher energy to melt them.
Okay, do they have any consciousness?
In terms of consciousness, not the consciousness that we
So what do
experience.
they do when they're growing? What do they do?
Yeah, they just grow. Just
How big do they grow?
depending on the external conditions we are applying, they can grow from 1 nanometer to which we can characterize 1 nanometer to anywhere micron range. Like even
Can you see it with your eyes
um,
when it grows to the micron range?
so with the microscopes, and we can see as we change the process over time, we can
So
capture
it
the
doesn't get
size
big
of
enough to see with the eye.
they
you
will
need a
eventually.
microscope.
They will because typically these nanoparticles, which the application is, they will stop at the size that our eyes cannot see, but the instruments can see. But we can continue the process until we see into a rock. Basically,
you get a rock.
yeah, you can make a rock out of it.
Okay.
So to a visible, so range would change from non-visible to eyes to visible to a rock. So
Are you doing anything to make it get bigger?
yes,
What
because
you're adding energy to it. You're
energy
heating.
and
Is
then
it heat or what?
yeah, it's a heating mainly. Heating and mechanical stirring. Stirring basically helps with the control the size. Otherwise, it will form into one big rock. It's like any precipitation technique.
Well, what did Prabhupada say here? He said, he says, when any material object
Mhm.
displays development, it must be understood that there is a spirit soul within the manifestation. So this is a material object, right? It's
Yeah,
a little molecule or
molecule too. It will turn into rock. We can say that's a example.
and there's a soul in it.
Sorry.
Can it talk to you? Oh, well, even the crystals, when they grow, they can pick up radio signals and things like that, but they don't talk to you.
Is it? Should we consider instead of it's a individual soul, it's a super soul activity
No.
because they're part of like.
Well,
any-
super soul is everywhere. It's in every atom.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. So should we say it's a super soul activity than an individual jiva?
No. No, I wouldn't say that. It's like if a mountain grows, mountains grow. It means there's a jiva.
Okay.
I mean, the super soul's in here, but is it growing? No, it's not growing. But when there's a jiva, then it grows. Right? So you just stick to this statement in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 6, verse number 10, in the purport. When any material object displays development, it must be understood that there is a spirit soul within the manifestation, within that object.
So should we say the super soul activity, like the formation of the universe, does it, like after that stops, then everything, all the activities are individual soul activities? Like in this case, when we are able to make rocks out of the small molecules.
Well, you're not really making it. Does it happen naturally also without you doing anything?
They do happen even in the ocean, because there's a pressure and the heat.
The point is, you're not doing anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we only
You're just simulating
and
it. You're simulating it.
Exactly.
You're making it go faster.
Yeah.
But it happens naturally, right?
Naturally, yeah.
So it's a living entity.
It's a living entity. Okay.
Yeah. All right, we'll stop there. Oh, okay.
Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna,
Maharaj.
Prabhu.
One more question. Is it the material or human body that grows with the soul?
The soul organizes matter or material things. The body is made up of matter, right? So when the soul touches that matter, things start to grow. Okay? So, but if the soul doesn't touch the matter, then it doesn't grow. So that's why I asked, is this thing, does it grow naturally somewhere? And you said, yeah, in the ocean it develops. Right? So that means it's a living being.
Yeah, but what? I have one more question. If there's the normal soul which contains, what is the super soul used for?
Super soul is the source of all the energy. Just like if they put some heat to that molecule, it starts growing. It attracts other molecules and they connect. So the super soul is the source of all the energy. You have to have energy. Just like this microphone is working because there's electricity. As soon as electricity goes off, it stops working. So super soul is the source of the energy, the electricity that makes things work.
Is the super soul is it in charge of all the other souls on the earth?
Super soul is present in the heart of all the other souls, and it's supplying the energy by which they can function.
So technically, the normal soul is smaller. Bigger.
Yeah, it's smaller. The super soul is smaller than the normal soul. Yes. That's why it says Krishna is smaller than the smallest and bigger than the biggest.
Is there one super soul? It can divide itself? Or?
No, there's billions and billions. How many people are in the world? Because super soul is in the heart of every person. And how many atoms are there in the world?
Yeah, I'm just talking about is that small thing going to divide itself? So it's starts.
No, it doesn't divide itself. It expands itself. And expansion means it creates another one exactly like itself, or expands.
So it's like a printer, except it's
like a
soul.
what?
Like a printer.
If you want to say that, the printer is a material thing. The super soul is not material.
Yeah, I know, but it's like that.
Yeah, it expands itself. So there's every atom in the universe has a super soul in it, and every human being in the universe has a super soul in their heart.
So do you have two souls in your body?
Yeah. There are more than that, but you have two main souls, yours and the super soul. But see, because the super soul is present in every atom, then all the atoms in your body have super soul in it too. Well, let's say you have two major souls in the body. Yeah. Haribol. Like someone can say, take something out of your body. Like, let's say, they take out, they've done these experiments. They take something out of your body and then they keep it alive for, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Because what they take out of your body are living cells, right? So they can keep them alive by supplying nutrients. Right? So that means, there's a soul in every cell. But you are the main soul, and the super soul is the main super soul. Yeah, this is the super soul. That's why it's called super soul. It's super.
All the words have put it together nicely, like soul and super soul.
Yeah, wow. Prabhupada to think this all. Well, it's in Sanskrit, Paramatma.
Yeah, Paramatma.
Supreme soul. Or super soul.
So clear in the words.
Yeah. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay. Guru Puja.
Yeah, I could do it together. Okay. Should I start?
Go ahead, you can start.
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma
Vandamuhi Savadana Mate
Vandamuhi Savadana Mate
Jahara Prasadi Bhai Ye Baba Toriya Jai Krishna Prapti Hoy Jaha Hoy Te Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitte Kuriya Kya Harana Kuri Ho Mani Asha Shri Guru Charani Rati Isse Uttama Gati Ye prasade puri sarva asha चक्षुदान दिलो जे जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशितो प्रेम प्रेम भक्ति जहाँ होते अविद्या विनाश जाते विधि गाय जहर चरितो श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु आदम जय नारा बंधु लोकना लोकेरा जीवाना आह प्रभु कोरो दया देह मोरे पाद छाया ये बीजास गुसुक त्रिभुवाना श्रील प्रभुपाद पतित पावाना जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी नित्यनामिने विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गणधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare Nitya Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitya Gaura Hari Bol
The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain pure of devotional service. I bow to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet, perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him, ecstatic pramana emanates. By him, ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and the Lord of and master of the devotees. O Langada Goswami, O Master, be merciful unto me. Give me the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread over all the three worlds.